Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Lily and this is Lily in the Library. So today I'm going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag that I have been seeing everybody on BookTube doing, and I just wanted to join in on the fun. I'm taking a few questions from the different videos I've seen, so I'm not going to name anyone in particular because it's kind of a hodgepodge. You've seen the video going around on BookTube, so I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Without further ado, let's get started. So question number one is going to be, how has your reading year gone so far? And honestly, I would just say my reading year has been going great. I only recently started getting back into reading mid-April, and as you guys know, I've only been here on BookTube for about a month. I think I started my BookTube in May, and my Bookstagram, same thing, around the same time. So far it's been going great. I've been making loads of connections in the community, which has been amazing. I've been really enjoying being part of the community, and the actual reading has just been amazing. I've had a bunch of 5-star reads, lots of 4-star reads. I have had a few DNFs, which hasn't been great, I will admit, but we do what we can. I have already hit my Goodreads reading goal, which, to be fair, I only set at 24, but I didn't even think I was going to get that many books read. So I believe I'm sitting at about 26 or 27 books for the year so far since mid-April. So I'm having a great time and my reading year is going really well. The second question is, what is the best book you have read so far in 2024? And I just read this book. It is The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. This book is amazing. If you haven't read it yet, you need to. I think it's a great book for the summer too. It's a thriller. I was very skeptical in the beginning because the book was super long. I hadn't heard a ton of reviews about the book yet because I believe it did come out not too long ago. So I haven't really heard anybody talk about it yet. In the beginning, when I first started this book, I had pretty much no expectation. I've never read a Holly Jackson book before, and like I said, because of the length of the thriller, because usually when I listen to thrillers, they're about anywhere from 8 to 10, sometimes 12 hours, and I believe this was a 15-hour audiobook. So I was a little bit worried that this book would drag on, that it would be too long, that there wouldn't be enough happening in the book for it to warrant the 15-hour mark. I was completely wrong. I finished this book in a day. It was amazing. I loved it, highly recommended it, 5 stars, and just really made me excited to keep reading. Now, the next question is going to be, what is the best sequel you have read in 2024? And I believe the only sequel I have read in technically the only sequel I think I have read in 2024 is the sequel to Divine Rivals, which is Ruthless Vows. I really enjoyed both Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. I gave them both 5 stars. I thought they were great books, and I have no complaints about the sequel. I have nothing bad to say about it. I really enjoyed it. It was a little heart-wrenching at times, definitely a lot of anticipation. I really tried to take my time reading Ruthless Vows, even though it was a little bit longer than Divine Rivals. I finished Divine Rivals, I want to say, in a day or two, and I just wanted to enjoy and savor Ruthless Vows a little bit more. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the continued world building. I enjoyed the character dynamics. I enjoyed the relationships. I enjoyed coming back to that environment, coming back to these characters that we had already grown to know and love in Divine Rivals. So I believe that's the only sequel I've read. I have started Gleanings, which I don't think is a sequel, but I'm struggling with that book, so we won't even talk about it. Okay, a new release that I have not read yet, but I am very hyped to read, is the new Lucy Foley book, The Midnight Feast. When I tell you I love Lucy Foley, I love Lucy Foley, and I can't wait to read this book. I'm very excited. It just came out a few days ago when I'm recording this, so I am super excited to read her new book. Next question is, worst book I've read so far this year. There's been so many. unfortunately. I think my worst book of the year, if we go based on star rating, I have a couple of 1 stars that I ended up DNFing. So if we're going to go based on books that I completed, I would have to say The Cartographers. I did read the entirety of the book and it received 2 stars. I was bored the entire time. I did review this book in my May wrap up. There were a few moments in this book that I was actually interested in, but maybe I went into it with the wrong ideas. Maybe I thought there was going to be more to it than there was. Maybe I just expected too much of it. I don't know. From the synopsis, I just really thought it was going to be a lot more fantastical than it was. It was really just a story about, it just could have been better. Let's just say it that way. I feel like I said what I had to say in my main wrap up, and I just don't feel like continuing to talk about this book. It was that boring. Another book I gave 2 stars is A House at the Bottom of the Lake. I gave it 2 stars. Again, even though this was such a quick read, it was, I believe, listed as a horror book. I thought something more was going to happen. Like, I thought it was going to be more horror-esque. There were 2 or 3 parts where it was a little bit creepy, and the rest of the book is just like, I don't know, it's like you're building up to this great event, and then the event doesn't happen. And then the end was so ambiguous and so confusing to me. But I honestly would not put that as the worst book so far. It was not great, but it was just a 2-star. I also have several books that I have DNF'd. One being Catherine House. I wasn't sure if I was going to DNF this book because it was weird and I really wanted to read it. I was interested, but then I started reading the book and I was no longer interested. I think I got to about either the 50 or 60%. I don't know. I got a decent way into the book, and then I put it down for about 2 weeks. And at no point during the 2 weeks did I want to pick this book back up. Not only did I not want to pick the book back up, I was dreading that I may have to, or even when I would think about it, it would actually cause me anxiety to think about going back and reading this book. I really did not like the book. I thought it was very bizarre and not in a good way. There was like nothing going on. It was just very repetitive. It was a lot of, I don't know, it wasn't for me. So I went ahead and DNF that book and I gave it 1 star. I also did a soft DNF on The Witches of St. Petersburg. I think it just wasn't the right time for me to be reading it, so I put it down for now, and to be fair, I haven't come back to it. We'll see how I feel after a little while. I recently just DNF'd When No One Is Watching. I am going to be honest, I didn't even get past the prologue. It was just too heavy-handed for me. It was too vulgar. It was too opinionated. And it was very clear just from the very small amount that I listened to, which I also didn't care for the narrator, that it was a cash grab. And then I went on Goodreads and I read the reviews, and while there were a lot of high reviews, I went and read the lower reviews to see if there were people who were agreeing with me. And yeah, it was exactly what I was saying. This never changes throughout the book. It's very overt. It's a poorly written book. So I was glad to escape it. I didn't bother rating it because, like I said, I only listened to the very beginning of the prologue, and just from the first, I want to say 5 to 10 minutes, I was very turned off by the book. There's a way to do things and there's a way not to do things, and I'm glad a lot of people enjoyed this book, but this wasn't for me. I don't think it's very well written. I think it's very dated. I don't think it's going to age very well, and I think it's just a money grab, and I'm not sorry that I think that way. I didn't even read that book, and it was bad. It really left a bad taste in my mouth, and I won't be reading anything by the author going forward, because I don't like when someone states their opinion, their beliefs, their thoughts in such a way that it's almost like a fact, especially about things that are currently going on. There was no thought-provoking dialogue. It was very black and white. This is what I think, so this is how it is. And I don't think it's appropriate for that to be in a fiction book. You want to lead the readers to understand your opinion, that's fine. I felt the same way about the little bit of man hating in the Shari LaPena book. I just don't think it's the appropriate place. Most people read fiction books to get away from what we're currently dealing with in our own lives, in the world, in society. This is not the time nor the place to put this in there. I also read reviews that said this was not a thriller. It was not psychological. It was none of the things that it promised to be. So, again, I'm very glad that I didn't waste my time listening to or reading this book. My biggest disappointment this year, Lies and Weddings. I had such high hopes for this book, especially because so many people rave about Kevin Kwan's Rich Asians series. So I had a lot of high hopes. I was very excited that the book was partially set in Hawaii. I was really excited to read about, what was going to happen. It just sounded so much fun. And it was none of those things. It was not fun. None of it. I ended up DNFing this book about 45% of the way through. I felt like I had given this book enough of my time. The narrator was awful. The pronunciation of things, and I'm not sure if this is left up to Kevin Kwan, the narrator, or the production team for the audiobook, but it was atrocious. I hated that everything came back to a brand name, a designer name, a who's who, name drop, brand drop. We had all these descriptions about clothes, about boats, about planes, and you're in this beautiful setting and we have almost no descriptions about it. Like, it's very minimal. I learned more about what type of designer dress our main character, what was her name, Edie, something with an E. I don't even remember because it was that forgettable. I learned more about her dress and the people around her's clothes and attire than I did about the whales breaching, than I did about the island they were on, and than I did about the culture, anything. And I was very disappointed in this because as an Asian author, I thought he would have taken a little bit more time to highlight this, because you may or may not know this, Hawaiians are very underrepresented in media, especially in books. I can count on one hand the amount of books I have read that have either been set in Hawaii or had local people in them. I was extremely disappointed. I was disappointed by the butchering of the pronunciations of the places. I was disappointed in just like, I almost felt like he was using certain things to make the characters seem better. Like, I can't remember what the main character's name was, the main male character's name. I think his name was like Russell or something, Russell Ronald, something like that. And there's like this little bit where he pipes up about how they're on the mountaintop and they shouldn't be there because it's sacred to the Hawaiian people, and how, it's spitting in their face. They've been fighting to not have the 30-meter telescope built there, but here we are. And to me, it was just, it was like, I don't know, I guess having lived there and knowing about the struggles, being Hawaiian, seeing what's actually going on, to me, it was just such a disservice to the culture. It was a disservice to Hawaiian people. It was just, it was kind of disgusting. I tried to get through more of it, and once we got off of Hawaii, I no longer cared anything about this book. I didn't care about the settings. I didn't care to listen to anything more. I mean, I cannot speak for other cultures that I am not a part of, so I don't know if anything further continued to be butchered or misrepresented, but this book wasn't for me. I had waited so long for this book to come in on Libby, and for it to be so terrible, definitely the biggest disappointment of my year so far. My biggest surprise for this year, however, was The Lost Apothecary. It's a toss up between The Lost Apothecary and the reappearance of Rachel Price. But this book, I had no expectations. I did not know what to expect. I know it's like taking place in two different time periods. So we are going back and forth between these time periods. And from the very beginning, I was hooked. Now, I did listen to the audiobook of this. I annotated this and I read physically along with the audiobook. And I think that's what made this so much more enjoyable and what allowed me to retain so much more about the story. But this was so, I can't even describe the reasons why I enjoyed this book so much. I just, like, there's so much about this book. There's a lot of cute little interactions between women, and I feel like this book highlights that. There is a lot of talk about pregnancy and children and the role of women, and I will get more into this when I do my review on this book. But it was just, I went away from this book feeling very happy and just very much at peace. And I cannot think of another book that I have read that's anything like this. So it was just such a huge surprise to me because I really had little to no expectation for this book, and it ended up being amazing. The next question is a new favorite author, whether it's new to you or a debut author. I actually have two. This year, for the first time, I read Lisa Jewell. I've read None of This Is True and also The Family That Remains. I'm going to be reading shortly Then She Was Gone. I also have The Family Upstairs now, which I'm so excited because it's kind of like a prequel, I think, to The Family That Remains. I mean, they're standalone books, but I think they involve the same people. So I'm super excited to read those. But yes, Lisa Jewell is a new favorite author for me. And also, dare I say, Holly Jackson. I am excited to read anything this woman has written. I know she has read that trilogy, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Um, and that's being turned into, I think, a TV show or a movie. So I need to get on that. I'm really excited to read more from her. If it's anything like the reappearance of Rachel Price, I'm here for it. So the next question is, who is your newest fictional crush? I'm not really, I guess I'm not really reading romance. I mean, no, that's not true because I read a couple of Emily Henry books this year, but I don't know. If I had to say anyone, I would say Roman from Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows because his determination to get back to Iris, their relationship, just, it's very cute. Other than that, I can't say that I really have any crushes. Okay, next question is, what is a book that has made you cry this year? There are a few honorable mentions. I did tear up when I was reading The Lost Apothecary. I also teared up while I was reading Book Lovers by Emily Henry. And I did tear up while I was reading Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. But the book that has made me cry this year, The Midnight Library by, is it Matt or Mark Haig? What a book. That was something. I wow. I didn't expect it. I knew there were topics of grief and suicide and but I didn't realize exactly how much we were going to touch on those topics and the way in which we were going to explore our main character's life. It was such a good book. I still think about that. I mean, it's only been about a month or so since I've read it, but I still think about that book. I would highly recommend you to read that book, regardless of what state of mind you're in, because I feel like it's something that will give you a new perspective no matter what's going on in your life or what you're going through. It is such a good book, and I did cry during it. Like, not full on sobbing, but I did have a bit of a cry for that book. The next question is the most beautiful book you've bought this year, and I have to say, I think it's Fathom Folk. Like, this is a stunning book. Even the regular copy is very beautiful, but because this one has the sprayed edges, and of course it has the end pages, but it also has this beautiful naked cover with the foiling on the spine. I think this is an absolutely beautiful book. I did just order The Honey Witch, and I think that is a very beautiful book as well, but I don't have the book to show you. I have this book to show you. So I love this. I think it's so stunning, and I cannot wait to read this book. Next question is books that I need to read by the end of the year. All of them, all of the books. I need to read them all. Now, there's a few books that I really do want to get to this year. I would like to read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame by the end of the year. I'm not sure how doable that's going to be. I have a whole list of Christmas books that I would like to get to, and I am thinking, the more I think about it, the more I think I'm going to be doing some kind of Christmas themed week, or reading something next month, doing a Christmas in July type of deal, because there are so many Christmas books that I really want to get through, and I don't think I'm going to have enough time to read them in the month of December. I would also like to read, there's a few other Lisa Jewell books I want to get to. There's some Mary Kubica books I want to get to. I want to read Wolf Hall and possibly Bring Up the Bodies this year, which is the story of Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn, and then there is a third book in the trilogy, but I'm not sure if I'm going to get it because I really want to annotate these books. I hate to think that I might not complete the series, but at the same time, I don't know if I'm going to have any interest, because the last book is about Thomas Cromwell, and I really don't care for him as a historical figure. So I don't know. I'll see how the first two books are read and written, and if I'm enjoying my time with them, because I do own both of them. So we'll see how that goes. If I really like them and I want to complete this series, then I'll get the last book, and hopefully it will be a good decision. I also want to read more from Holly Jackson. I would like to read more from Emily Henry. I have The Happy Place, and so I do have plans to read that soon. I'm hoping to read that for the summer. I would also like to read Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren, and possibly The Unhoneymooners. I'm not sure. I would also like to read Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson. So I have the first two books, and then Queen Bee is coming out later this year, or it's already out. I'm not sure, but I would like to get those books read as well. And just mainly thrillers. I enjoy reading a romance and some fantasy here and there, but my main thing is thriller books, and I would like to read, like I said, all the Christmas books as well. And then the next question is your favorite video you've made this year. I think my favorite video so far has actually been my reading vlog. I know it hasn't done very well. None of my videos are really doing super great except for my book haul, but I enjoyed it. I had fun filming it. I like checking in periodically and talking about the books as almost as I'm reading them, or right when I get done finishing them, so that things are fresh in my mind. That's usually the way I make my reviews, is immediately after I read them, unless I really need to sit with it for some time. Sometimes I do change the star rating afterwards, because I feel like it either deserved another star or it did not deserve that other star. But I really enjoy that check-in. I enjoyed just a little bit of sharing my life, and not that my life is super exciting, but I enjoy it. Next question is, are there any upcoming videos you're excited to make? I don't have anything really planned. I'm excited to do more reading vlogs. I'm excited for the Christmas season. I'm excited for spooky season. In general, I'm excited to make more videos. And the final question for this video is, are there any channel goals you have for the end of the year? And the answer is yes. I would like, this is a very lofty channel goal. I would love to make it to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. But aside from that, my goal is to just be consistent and grow as I grow. Just to continue enjoying being part of the book community, both on Instagram and on YouTube, and just see where it takes me. So I think that's all I have for you guys now. I hope you've enjoyed this video and enjoyed sitting down with me and just finding out some of the answers to these questions. Subscribe if you want to see some more content from me. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!